Hello everyone. Have you ever wondered why some rooms make you feel instantly alert while others make your eyes tired within minutes? The answer lies in the science of illumination, and today we are going to explore how light shapes not just what we see, but how our entire body functions. Light does far more than help us see. It plays a powerful role in our biology that goes beyond vision. It regulates our circadian rhythm, controlling body temperature and physical activity patterns throughout the day. It triggers endocrine and systemic responses, stimulating melanin synthesis, activating vitamin D precursors, regulating adrenocortical secretion, and even influencing how much we eat. Daylight also causes degradation of bilirubin, which is why it is used as a direct therapy for premature infants suffering from hyperbilirubinemia. When our eyes operate without ideal lighting conditions, it leads directly to general fatigue and a drop in efficiency. For vision to work efficiently without strain, seven key pillars must be satisfied. Sufficiency means having an absolute minimum of 15 to 20 foot candles, with corridors requiring at least 5 foot candles and complex industrial tasks requiring up to 100 foot candles. Distribution must be uniform across the entire field of work since contrast differences cause eye strain and reduce visual acuity. The color of light matters too. Though intensity matters most, artificial light should try to approximate the soothing effect of daylight. Steadiness is essential. A constant light source is required, since flickering causes fatigue and even contributes to workplace accidents. There must be an absence of sharp shadows, since slight shadows are unavoidable, but sharp or contrasting shadows create visual confusion. Glare, both direct and reflected, must be eradicated to prevent discomfort and annoyance. And finally, the surroundings matter, since black objects against dark backgrounds impair recognition, meaning higher illumination is required when color contrast is low. The surfaces around us also play a major role in how light behaves in a space. Ceilings and roofs should reflect about 80% of light, requiring white or highly reflective finishes to maximize natural illumination. Walls should reflect 50 to 60%, with lighter tints on the upper portions and slightly darker tones below for comfortable contrast. Furniture should reflect 30 to 40%, and floors should be kept to a maximum of 15 to 20% reflectance, which prevents aggressive upward glare into our visual field. Contrasting color schemes are also deliberately engineered in certain settings, like culverts and bridges, specifically to prevent accidents. To understand how light is measured, we can follow the journey of a single ray. It begins at the source, a glowing point radiating light in all directions, measured as luminous intensity. This light then flows outward as a cone of visible electromagnetic radiation, ranging from 380 to 780 nanometers, measured as luminous flux. When this light strikes a surface, like a desk, the exact amount landing there is called illumination or illuminance. Finally, the light that reflects off that surface and reaches our eyes is called brightness or luminance. These four quantities each have standardized units. Luminous intensity is measured in candela, also historically called candle power. Luminous flux is measured in lumens, illumination is measured in lux, and also known as foot candles or fort. Brightness is measured in lambert or foot lambert. It is worth remembering that light containing all visible wavelengths from 380 to 780 nanometers is what we perceive as white light. Building orientation and window design are critical for effective daylight engineering. A north or south facing axis is ideal for uniform illumination, which is especially important for schools, factories, and laboratories. An east or west facing axis brings variable sky brightness and direct radiant heat penetration, which is why window shades are often necessary in tropical regions. Window geometry also matters. Tall windows allow deep interior light penetration, while broad windows create wide light diffusion across a space. The outdated rule that window area should equal 10% of floor area has been replaced by a smarter approach, correlating window geometry directly to the specific purpose of the room. In fact, the single most effective improvement in lighting is often simply removing structural obstructions. To measure how well a space uses daylight, we calculate something called the daylight factor. This is the ratio of instantaneous illumination indoors to the simultaneously occurring illumination outdoors, multiplied by 100. The outdoor baseline is taken as exposure to the whole hemisphere of the sky, around 500 foot candles, strictly excluding direct sunlight. This is rapidly measured using a modified photoelectric daylight factor meter. Architectural standards set clear minimums. Living rooms require a minimum daylight factor of 8%, while kitchens require a minimum of 10%. When it comes to artificial lighting, there are 5 main distribution systems. Direct lighting is efficient but casts sharp shadows. Semi-direct sends most light downward with a small portion going up. Direct-indirect splits light evenly between upward and downward projection. Semi-indirect sends most light upward with a small downward component. And indirect lighting creates general room illumination without lighting specific objects directly. The key takeaway here is that artificial light should always try to mimic the composition of daylight as closely as possible. And no single distribution system works for every situation. They must be layered based on the specific purpose of the space. Looking at the distribution thresholds more precisely, direct lighting projects 99 to 100% of its light downward, with almost nothing going upward. Semi-direct projects 60 to 90% downward and 10 to 40% upward. Direct-indirect splits evenly at 50% each way. Semi-indirect flips the balance, sending 10 to 40% downward and 60 to 90% upward. And indirect systems send 0 to 10% downward, with 90 to 100% projected upward. The efficiency of different light sources also varies dramatically in terms of heat generation. A filament bulb works by heating a tungsten filament with electric current, and hotter filaments produce bluer light. However, this process is highly inefficient. Only 5% of the energy becomes light, while 95% is wasted as heat. It is also worth noting that dust accumulation on bulbs and shades can degrade illumination by 30 to 40%, so regular maintenance is essential. Fluorescent lighting works differently. Using a glass tube filled with mercury vapor and a chemical coating that absorbs ultraviolet light and re-emits it as visible light. This method is far more economical, converting 21% of energy into light with only 79% lost as heat. Fluorescent lighting also runs cool and efficiently simulates the natural composition of daylight. Different tasks require very different levels of illumination according to established standards. Casual reading requires around 100 lux. General office work requires about 400 lux. Fine assembly work requires 900 lux. Very severe tasks require between 1300 and 2000 lux. And watchmaking, one of the most demanding visual tasks, requires 2000 to 3000 lux. For context, the human eye can adapt across an enormous range, from just 0.1 lux in full moonlight to 100,000 lux in bright sunshine. Interestingly, visual efficiency increases with illumination but eventually flattens out at higher levels. This brings us to an important design principle known as the 30 times rule of thumb. The baseline threshold is the point where a task can just barely be performed. Optimal illumination is then geometrically scaled, multiplied by 30 times that baseline for maximum visual efficiency. Because standard metrics are ultimately somewhat arbitrary due to human adaptability, The guiding philosophy of illumination engineering is simple. It is usually better to err on the side of too much light, provided that glare is strictly avoided. To summarize everything we have covered, illumination engineering rests on four key pillars. First, the core principles, the seven pillars ensuring efficient vision without strain, sufficiency, distribution, absence of glare and sharp shadows, steadiness, and optimized color and surroundings. Second, the measurement metrics, the journey of the ray from candela to lumen to lux to Lambert. Third, sourcing and distribution, balancing natural light through proper orientation and daylight factor minimums with artificial light balanced across direct to indirect systems, while remembering that filament bulbs lose 95% of energy to heat compared to fluorescent lighting at 79%. And fourth, the biological impact, covering circadian rhythms, adrenocortical secretion, vitamin D and melanin activation, and bilirubin degradation in infant care. Hope you have understood about the art and science of illumination. If you found this video useful, please watch and share with your friends and colleagues. Thank you.